Good morning, and thank you for watching another edition of Sunday Kickoff. My name is Fidel Barraza. Alongside with me, like always, Jerry Martinez, Walter Stringer, Kendall Whitley will be joining us here in a bit. Guys, what's going on?
Shoot, right now, as we speak, Packers, Giants, some little London action going on right here. So football all day Sundays cannot get any better than this.
I feel the same. These London games can't get up early enough to watch them. It's not like they give us any serious competition anyway. They can't give us Chiefs Rams over in London, something like that. So I'll catch up on it. I'll watch the game completely over a little later though.
And I believe this is the first time that they have two teams with a winning record playing in London, if I'm not mistaken, too. So there's that. Kendall, what's up, man? How you doing?
What's going on? What's going on?
How you doing?
Pretty good, man. Getting situated. Where y'all at now? Talking about the London games?
Yeah. I'm just saying what's up, saying how everyone's doing. We're on air. Thank you, everyone out there, for watching. All right, let's start out with the recapping Thursday Night Football. Obviously, there's not. Well, I guess you can say there's not too much to talk about, but at the same time, there is. Essentially, we talked about it on the podcast. We had two struggling teams playing each other. This team, there was not a touchdown scored in this game. All field goals. Essentially, Denver had a chance to kind of steal the game towards the end of the fourth quarter, but they decide to throw the football, and it gets picked off. That gives the Colts life. Matt Ryan struggled the whole game. Russell Wilson struggled the whole game. Went to overtime, and Indianapolis was able to kick a field goal to win the football game. But the game was it was hard to watch. And I'm not just saying it for myself, but I'm saying it for everyone that's basically watching the show and everyone out there, because I saw everyone complaining about the football game. It was a difficult watch, but the Colts ended up pulling away, and now they're 2-1-1, which is really odd to see. It looks like a hockey record, not a football one. But gentlemen, let me get your thoughts on Thursday Night Football between the Indianapolis Colts and Denver Broncos.
I mean, I think the first thoughts is, it was two bad teams playing. It's crazy to say that early in the year. Two teams that couldn't really move the ball, couldn't score, defensive game. I think it was a little more than a defensive game. I think it was just two bad teams that were playing. Matt Ryan looking like the Matt Ryan the last few years in Atlanta. And Russell Wilson, he's been, I wouldn't say a disaster all year, but he hasn't been Russell Wilson. So I think, it's shocking to see from both of those teams or whatnot. We can say that both of the teams had high expectations coming into this year with the moves that they made in the off season. So I think it's disappointing. And I think I've heard somebody say with the Denver coach Nathaniel Hackett, he might not make it the rest of the year. And now the Russell Wilson news came out that he's playing with a torn ladder or something, whatever that is. I'm not a doctor specialist, so I wouldn't know, but he's playing with something. And then I think if the Colts lose that game, Frank Reich probably wouldn't have made it back to Indiana. I think they really they won the game, but they won it because Denver was so bad. It won't look like it won't like the Colts did really. But I think the Colts would have lost that game. I think that Hackett's leash is a little longer than Reich. But I think if Colts lose that game, I think that there's some changes in Indianapolis that would have been coming. Because all that talent there on that roster, I know it's a little bit of an Asian roster, but all that talent, there's no way they should be sitting there tying with the Texans, getting shut up by Jacksonville again. It's been a mess for the Colts so far. So I think the Colts came on a positive end of it, but it wasn't let's not just overshadow the Colts with what's going on with Denver, because they didn't look too good themselves. Somebody just had to win.
Yeah, and Frank Reich would have been probably halfway home right now, walking back from Denver to Indianapolis.
But Tom Brady even said it. I think they asked him. We have right now. There's a total of 16 2-2 teams, 7 1-win teams, and of course the winless Texans. So, right now it's a very slow
start. A lot
start
of bad
to the
football.
Season. Yeah, bad football. So I think it's just a very slow start to the season. And if you want to touch on that game, I think if you look at it, objectively, I think that you would see it was more that these teams have been built through the defense more so than through the offense, and so it's going to take some time to get some kind of cohesive play calling or just players on the same page.
Yeah, I'm just shocked. I'm shocked that not Seattle, but Denver's looked that bad offensively through the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season. I can't remember the last time we've seen a professional offense look that bad. Maybe going back to the championship Baltimore Ravens team, they could barely crack 10 points, maybe, or went with 7 straight games without scoring a touchdown close to that. But they just look very, very inept. And for a team to have an elite quarterback, some may not feel he's elite. We can at least say he's one of the best quarterbacks in football. When
So
he's
we
on
think.
his game, reputation-wise,
Yeah.
except for the past 5 games, which I find, to say ironic that we can just kind of throw him out over the past few years, past decade, considering what he's already accomplished because of what's going on right now. I don't think this is what he is, finished product. He's only 33 years old. Um, the offensive line's been bad. The receivers have been bad. They've dropped a lot of balls. There's been a lot of miscommunication. The running game can't get started because the offensive line is hurt and just flat out bad. The defense can only do so much. That defense is good enough for them to win with, but the offense isn't doing anywhere near enough.
I think it's a mix of bad coaching and indecisions by Russell Wilson. I mean, we saw it towards the end of the game in the fourth quarter, right? And even in overtime, he pressed the ball to Sutton and he had Hamler open. So I don't know what's going on, but I mean, look, Nathaniel Hackett too. He had a chance to kind of redeem himself for the week 1 issues that he had in the fourth quarter. Play calling, all he had to do was run the football and kick the field goal. They won the game. That's it. Indianapolis was struggling the whole game. They get the ball down the field, and for whatever reason, decides to pass the ball, and there was an interception by Gilmore. And even Gilmore said at the end of the game that they tested him twice, and he wasn't going to let them get away with it.
I think we can agree with Denver on the Broncos. It's not a talent issue because they got talent. So I think we can agree with that. It's not a talent issue. They clearly have the talent. I think it's more of maybe like an X's and O's or something like that. But I don't think it's a talent issue with the Broncos. I think their problems are fixable. I do think their problems are fixable though, but it's going to take some time. But then we're almost a month through the season. They don't get no easy. I think they got the Chargers next. I believe so.
Yeah, Monday Night Football.
Monday night, and they keep getting all these primetime games for crying out loud. So I mean, I do think it's I think their problems are fixable, but it doesn't get no easier for Denver. They haven't even played KC yet. So
and they lost their left tackle.
Yeah, they got injuries. They had a lot of injuries out of this game too.
I think
I will say this: I've never seen so much backlash on a player like this. I mean, for announcers and commentators to be talking about Russell Wilson, how man, I think it was Cal Brandt. He
called him a poser.
He called him a poser, man. And you know what? We've been seeing this since last year when he was with the Seahawks, where he just didn't look like he wanted to play.
And look, we thought that
his
Pete
numbers
Carroll
were still good though. I mean, Seattle as a team was going through a lot, but statistically, when he was playing, he was still playing decent.
Yeah, but
he wasn't playing anywhere near this.
The offense looks way better with Geno Smith, who we wrote off years ago.
Yep.
I mean, now the Seahawks, they look like they have something going on their offense. So, I mean, if this continues to trend that way, and we see the Broncos trend that way, I mean, all the blame's going to go to Russell, man.
Well, I mean, I want to hold up on the Seattle Seahawks, and Pete Carroll got it figured out front because they did play. The Detroit Lions, one of the worst defenses in football. They've been giving up about 30 to 40 points a game. They played the Seahawks, and they played Denver the week 1, but that was like a motivational game. You know what I mean? The first week of the season, they lost to the Falcons. That same Seattle Seahawks that we're trying to claim is doing better without Russell Wilson. They lost to the Falcons a couple weeks ago, and they went to San Francisco and couldn't even move the ball against the 49ers. Yeah. So, I mean, the two defense, that Geno Smith, everybody's giving Geno Smith his flowers right now. The Detroit Lions, I mean, they defense is nothing to ride home about. I'm sorry about that, Walt, but it's facts. No, their defense ain't nothing to ride home about. And who else did they? Like Denver, week 1. Now, Denver defense is promising real good, but that was week 1. Russell Wilson came on. That was like they had to show up, play good that game. So let's just hold off on Pete Carroll and Geno. They've won a divorce. No, I want to hold off on that. They playing the Saints today. So let's see how. They playing the Saints today. So let's see how they look today against We know what the Saints defense is about. Now, Geno Smith comes out and he throws 3 touchdowns and has a 70 or 80 quarterback rating all that day, then we can revisit that next Sunday on the show. But let's hold off on they've won. They've clearly won. Let's just hold off on it. And plus, that's a system that Geno Smith has been in for a few years with Seattle.
Yeah, look, I mean, obviously, Russell Wilson is not going to get traded or cut next year. He's not. He's going to be there for the majority of the contract. I
think if they were to do that, there would be their dead cap would be $54 million against their salary.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to get rid of that.
So we know that he's not going to get traded or cut. So he's going to have time to get these things fixed. And obviously, he's dealing with an injury now that happened 2 weeks ago. But the same cannot be said for Nathaniel Hackett. If this team does not improve, I can almost guarantee you he's not going to be there next year.
I believe that's the same injury that Dak had in the offseason. Dak Prescott had that.
Is he going to miss any time with that injury or
no?
Dak got held back because of that injury. He had to let it rest up.
But see, the thing that gets me is that why all this stuff comes out after all this criticism is going to Russell Wilson, and why had he won that game and looked good, we probably never heard about that, or it probably came out after the year. But now, after a couple of days, when the game dies down, he has a partially torn this or that. I mean, come on, stop it.
He puts himself out there to get criticized like this. Well, by saying Broncos country, let's ride. And even after the loss, he still said it, but he kind of said it like he was sad. I mean, I don't blame him for being sad.
Does that injury cause you not to see KJ? You think KJ Hamler trying to hear that? Does that injury stop you, prevent you from seeing KJ Hamler wide open or something? I mean, come on.
But I'm not gonna lie though, it is pretty catchy. Let's ride. Pretty catchy.
That's right. That's right.
But look, he makes all these videos. He's on these commercials, so it's easy for people to criticize him because essentially, you have more commercials than touchdowns so far this season, right? I mean, it's like Baker Mayfield last year. That's what a lot of people were saying.
I mean, listen,
we're talking about football, right?
I think something is wrong. I do. Just watching him throw the football, I do feel like something's a little off with him. The snap on that football isn't there. The drive on the football isn't the way it used to be. I didn't think he was actually hurt or anything, but now it's come out, so it kind of makes more sense now. But you're right, the decision making. I think the decision making has been worse with him this year. He's not taking off and running when he needs to.
Isn't going to help.
Of course not. Of course not.
Yeah.
You know, they kind of ignored the offensive line. I guess they figured Russ would make that offensive line better, but they actually needed to make him better. So, you know, do they have the money to take care of it in the offseason? They don't really have the draft collateral anymore. Seattle's got that. So, I mean, they've got to do everything they can. They're under contract with him through at least 2027?
Yep.
And then how do you feel as for part of the fan base knowing that I'm not going to say swindled yet because swindled would be kind of a harsh word to describe it, but he got his extension right before the season started.
I think it said a lot when the fans were walking out in the fourth quarter. Like they didn't even stay to watch the whole game.
Oh man,
that was an ugly.
That radio in Colorado's been rough this week.
And then it doesn't help when every time Melvin Gordon touches the ball, he's putting on the ground. I mean, it doesn't help with that. He's had fumbling issues dating back to college and with the Chargers, his whole career. Yeah. I mean, it's just been bad with Melvin. Every time I think they win that game last week against the Raiders, and Melvin Gordon don't put the ball on the ground. I think they could have possibly won that game.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see if Denver is able to turn around. They got a huge matchup, not this Monday, but next Monday with the Los Angeles Chargers.
That game's in Denver too, I believe.
I think it's in LA if I'm not mistaken, but could be in Denver. All right, moving along. Let's talk about some of the biggest storylines for Week 5.
Oof. I'm going with the New York Jets. I think the game's in Miami, or it might be at MetLife.
I think it's
I think the Jets got a chance in the AFC East where nobody's really running away with it right now. The Bills haven't looked like the Bills that everybody gave them the Super Bowl before the season. They haven't looked like that. I think the Jets, they got a chance to go over 500 for the first time in a while, and they can get the 3. Nobody's talking about the Jets. They're playing some good ball. Patriots at the bottom of the division. Miami is sitting at 2, and Buffalo or if Buffalo first or whatnot. But the Jets are playing some good ball right now, and they play. I don't care what nobody say. The Steelers. I mean, that's still the Pittsburgh Steelers. And they always had a good defense. Jets looked good last week. They looked good against Cleveland without Deshaun Watson, but they still won that game. So I think the Jets got a good chance to really put the league on notice. They can get a win. And Zach Wilson, he's already back. He looked okay last week, still making some questionable decision making. But I think the Jets got a chance. I mean, to really get some people to start talking about it. But my eyes on the Jets. That's my storyline. And the Dolphins are without Tua.
I mean, I think the biggest storyline. I mean, we could pick any one of these games because all these games are really good games. Falcons at Bucks. I think the Falcons, they could possibly have a chance. But I think the later night game or the Sunday night game is going to be a very telling one. The Bengals and Ravens, because Bengals look like they kind of got back on the same page almost. Because obviously they were in the Super Bowl and then they weren't able to string up some wins, and now Bengals look good. So we'll see. I think there's a whole list of these games today, so it's kind of hard to pick one out of the hat. But I'm looking forward to, of course, the Cowboys and the Rams. I want to see if the legend of Cooper Rush can continue. Right, the savior of the Cowboys season, Cooper Rush, and I think early indications is Cooper Rush will make his sixth start against the Eagles. I believe they're saying that they're going to hold Dak back unless Dak is able to have no swelling in his hand, and of course, he can practice a whole week. So, interesting. It's going to be interesting. I want to see this legend of Cooper Rush grow, right? Because right now we got some fans that are torn between Cooper and Dak. That Cooper's a better quarterback than Dak Prescott. So we'll see.
Yeah, and it's like, why would you rush Dak back if you guys are winning these games with Cooper Rush? So
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Seattle and Jacksonville both after 5 weeks of play, having the opportunity to be right there in the thick of things as far as a playoff hunt at 3-2. Seattle with the opportunity to beat a down New Orleans Saints team, and I think also Jacksonville. It's funny that we can start talking about the Jacksonville Jaguars as not falling for the trap game. But Houston could turn out to be a trap game for them. We're going to learn a lot about the young Jacksonville Jaguars today because if they're as good as they've looked, at least defensively, the first few weeks of the season, they should go out there and handle Houston. They need to show exactly how far of the learning curve they are by going out there and taking care of Houston. So, like I said, I'm interested to see if Jacksonville, if they can go out there and show everyone, hey, we're here to stay. We're legit. After 5 weeks of play, we're 3-2. We're leading the division, and you guys are gonna have to deal with us. And like I said, Seattle too. Seattle has the opportunity to win today against New Orleans. Show that the Detroit situation last week wasn't just another fluke or an anomaly. They can actually do things and go out and win some serious games. So, and also they got to keep pace with the Rams and the 49ers in that division. Rams lose today, you're looking at them potentially being 2-3. Seattle jumps them, they move into second place, and 49ers, if they win today, they're still a game ahead of Seattle because they did beat Seattle head to head a couple weeks ago. So I'm just interested to see some of these perceived bad teams, the younger teams over the past couple years. I'm interested to see if they can really come up and really take those next steps today because I figure Jacksonville should be able to handle Houston. Seattle should be able to deal with New Orleans. So can the bad teams take that next step?
Great question. I mean, hey, great points, Cole. Just to kind of piggyback real quick. I know kind of has something you want to say, but the NFC West, all of them are 2-2. So yeah, they need to start separating from that. The NFC West, one of those teams needs to start stepping up and leading the pack, so to say, right?
I got my eyes on two potential upsets. I believe one of them is going to happen, but I'm going to go with the Cardinals over the Eagles. That's a sneaky game right there. I think the Cardinals starting to hit their stride a little bit. They do get D-Hop back in a couple weeks. And the 49ers and Panthers. I think the Panthers can get one over San Francisco. Short week, we see this all the time. 49ers playing on Monday Night Football. Great performance against the Rams. And now they got to travel all the way to this on East Coast to play the Panthers. And the Panthers that are an angry team, they came up short in a bunch of games and whatnot. I think this really has a potential as an upset.
Yeah, no,
Question for you
100%.
Wow.
guys.
That you're really going out on a limb with the 49ers and Panthers there. Just because the defense for the 49ers has been on fire lately.
Yeah, I got a quick question for you guys. With all the parity we're seeing right now, you guys think we see a 13 or 14 game winner in the league this year?
It's gonna be hard.
Yeah, it is going to be difficult.
I don't think anybody wins, well, lose. Well, I think 3 losses is the minimum. I think everybody's going to get at least 3 losses this year.
Yeah,
Just with the
I
way
mean,
things are set up with the injuries and the extra game, the bye week, how these bye weeks are set up. And then, the matchups. Look at the Colts. The Colts look awful. But for some reason, they seem to match up pretty decent with the Chiefs. Or maybe it was just the fact that, that was their Super Bowl.
yeah.
And they took it that way.
Yeah. So the game that I'm looking forward to the most is the Sunday Night Football game between the Cincinnati Bengals, Baltimore Ravens. Can the Ravens keep a lead in the fourth quarter at home? I believe they've lost 7 straight home games, and that's crazy to say, but that's apparently that's what's going on. And look, Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals, they look like they're back on track, right? So we'll see how that. It's a big showdown, big divisional showdown, and a game that I feel like the Baltimore Ravens need to win.
I think that's the biggest game of the week. They lost 5 straight home games or whatnot. That's a big and that's tough. That's crazy with Baltimore. Man, they've always had a great home field advantage or whatnot. But that's mind that's about as mind-boggling as their preseason streak or whatnot. But Baltimore,
24 preseason
and,
wins in a row. They haven't lost in preseason.
and who they beat the Patriots, they beat the Jets and whatnot, but they could either be like 4-0 or whatnot, or that's strange right there for Baltimore or whatnot. And then Bateman is out tonight against the Bengals, so that's huge. And they
I think
already
the last
short
2
him.
weeks, I think they've only trailed for like 2 minutes.
And
Martindale is no longer there, so.
Kenny Pickett's gonna make a start against the Buffalo Bills too. So
I can't wait to see that one.
Yeah, that's gonna be interesting, right? Because Kenny Pickett looked great in the preseason games. It looked like he gelled more with the. Well, I don't know, man. He doesn't really. It didn't look like he's found a like the connection with him and Deontay Johnson. Considering that Deontay Johnson got paid in the offseason, it looks like Kenny Pickett wants to push it to George Pickens. You know what I mean? As suppose Deontay Johnson, who Kendall,
Buffalo secondary is banged up. They're missing all their stars again. Poyer, Hyde, White, the other guy Bernard or what they're out.
Yeah,
so they got
Bernard.
Bernard. Yeah, they got a day out. So it's a great opportunity. And Pittsburgh got some weapons. That's another sneaky gang right there. Because they remember they beat them last year, week 1.
But is Kenny Pickett going to have enough time to throw the football though? My concern is the defensive line with Buffalo against the offensive line for Pittsburgh.
Hey, Kenny Pickett's a baller, man. He's surprising me, man. That guy doesn't look like he cares about who's coming. I mean, he's very elusive. He's very, I don't want to say elusive, but what's the word, Walt? Like he can get off, he can shrug off a sack. Like it's
he's not your typical rookie. I mean, he's a little older than your rookie that comes in. It's like he's not your typical rookie.
Yeah, I mean,
the game is in Buffalo, though.
It is in Buffalo.
It's a tough ask for your first start.
Bills Mafia. Yeah. I mean, I don't know why. I feel like the Falcons are going to give the Bucks a little bit of a hard time. That could be a potential opposite.
Divisional game.
The Bears and the Vikings, even though the Bears offense hasn't been able to get going, but that defense is doing pretty good. And the Vikings, they've struggled. We've seen them struggle somewhat this year.
Tom Brady undefeated against the Falcons. So, when they start saying those records, some weird things happen when they start saying stuff like that. It's like it's bound to happen at some point.
Yeah, it's like they put the juju on those teams, right? Like that's why I was saying the legend of Cooper Rush is going to live on for this week and next week. I don't know if you got to hear that. So it's like people are intentionally putting that bad juju on Cooper.
All right, and then before we end today's show, there is some injury news. So Saquon Barkley is currently out of the game right now. It looks like he's dealing with a shoulder injury. Jarvis Landry is going to be officially out today against the Seattle Seahawks. Also, Dolphins cornerback Xavier Howard is going to be out with a groin injury. Some key injuries.
Is Tyreek playing or he's out?
No, he's good. He's good to go. He's playing.
And then
also, go ahead.
Is St. Brown playing for the Detroit?
Yes, that's actually who I was going to bring up next. He's playing.
Yeah, he's giving it a go.
I was hoping he wouldn't, but that's fine.
But you know what? Before we actually get off the air, let's talk about this matchup between the Detroit Lions and New England Patriots, since we have a Patriots fan and we have a Lions fan here. Bailey Zappi starting for the New England Patriots. He looked decent last week, so I'll just hand it over to you guys.
I came on. Appreciate again. Walt brought me on this podcast earlier this week. We talked this matchup. We broke it down. Go follow those guys at Lions. They're doing some great work there. I appreciate him and Shanti bring me on. But now let's get to reality. Now the game today, it's gonna be a pretty good game. Like I told Walter, whatnot. It's gonna be a close one. This ain't no blowout by any means. Bailey Zappi versus Jared Goff. I mean, who wants to watch that? But still, though, I think it's gonna be a pretty good game. Detroit is banged up though. They are banged up on defense and offense. I think Reynolds out.
Reynolds gave it a go. I'm not. I think he's supposed to be a go. You know,
I know
they keep
DJ
a lot
Chark.
of that stuff under wraps until kickoff as close as possible.
Yeah, we just activated Taquan Thornton off of IR, so that was huge for us. So we're getting healthy at the right time. Mac gonna be out till next week. We go to Cleveland next week. We play so I think Mac will be, but he has been practicing. That injury looked bad a few weeks ago, but he was limited in practice all week. He'll be back next week. I think he'll give it a go next week in Cleveland. But I can't wait to see Bailey Zappi, man. I've been doing some film work on him. He doesn't have the prettiest release in the I think Walt said the other day, ain't no fire in that gun or whatnot. He tried to throw.
He throws like one of the softest footballs.
Yeah, so I'd rather go with Garrett Gilbert. Garrett Gilbert's the back of the former Cowboy. I'd rather go with Gilbert today, but we'll see. I think we're gonna see a lot of Damian Harris from Ramondre Stevenson. I think Hunter Henry's gonna have a big game too.
Yeah. Throughout the week, they mentioned, as far as from the Lions' perspective, changing, making some tweaks to that scheme. They got to get more pressure in the middle, more interior pressure. They got to be able to stop the run a whole lot better. That's obvious. Everyone knows that. I think Bill Belichick understands what he can do. He's seen what he can do against that defense. If they win today, if the Patriots win today, I think it'll be more because of Bill Belichick scheming, the running game, and not so much Bailey Zappi. I think Zappi will make the throws he needs to make. But the problem is this. Let's say, just for instance, Detroit does have another offensive explosion and the Patriots fall behind. How do you plan on getting back into that game? You know, if you're the Patriots. So I think it's going to be a slow, low-scoring game. I originally had 26-24. Looking at the guys we have out today and looking at the guys that are going to play and are still nicked up, I'm thinking it's going to be somewhere closer to 2016, maybe 17-13, one of those type of games.
And, go ahead, Kendall.
I think on the show I said something like 26-20 or 26-21, something like that. But I don't know if we can get 26 points with Bailey Zappi or whatnot. I would have felt better with somebody else. But if Detroit Lions defense is bad and Bailey Zappi looks good today, that defense is really bad. I think the Detroit Lions could put on a better performance defensively today. I really do believe. I think there'll be a lot better defense. There's no way you can be that. I think that giving up like 30 points a game, I believe. But I think Jamal Williams has been keeping me up at night because he's the one playing on that offense. Him and Hawkinson. We struggled with tight ends in the past, but we did pretty good this year. Matt Wilson, Kyle Duggar, Jabril Peppers. We got some speed that can contain those. Mon St. Bray, he's going to give it a go, but he's not 100%. DJ Chark is out, which is big. Maybe another Jack Jones pick. He's been balling this year. That's Jerry's guy. Jerry likes Jack Jones from USC. But he's been hey man, he's leading right in the PFF grade. I'm saying he's a top corner right now, but we'll see how they get. I think it'll be a close game. I think Detroit, there's some of that I think Detroit's gonna have a better performance defensively against the Patriots today. But I do think we'll win though.
And speaking of close games, we got one right now. And Giants are in the red zone. They're first and goal. It's 13-20.
What's going on?
It's 20-13.
Yeah.
But a couple things I just kind of want to also, there's one thing that Walt said earlier about the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think if we can see Trevor Lawrence play a little bit more consistent football, I think that's where they can actually turn it up and start taking over the AFC South, right? And be the leader, which is unheard of. I think what was it when Tom Coughlin was around when the Jags were good, you know? So it's been some time, and it's a little bit of fresh air. I will say this for the Patriots and Lions. I think the Lions. Give me the Lions in this one. I think that it almost feels like like we were talking pregame, right? The Lions, it looks like they wait to see how many points the opposing team puts up first before they can get going, because we're talking about the number one offense in the actual NFL, right? And that's the Detroit Lions.
Yeah.
And like I
think
told
it's
Walt,
gonna
they're
be.
better
Yep.
than what their record is. That's one of the first things I said on the show. I've seen them. Detroit's better than what their record is. Patriots are better than what their record are, but Detroit.
My question is, at this pace, if Detroit's able to, you know, string some wins, and let's say they're kind of stuck in that, you know, they're stuck in that. They almost made the playoffs, but they didn't have a bad season. Is it time to move on from Jared Goff? That's that's going to be the question, because at this rate, Jared Goff is putting up some great numbers, man. So
Yeah, I mean, well, as far as golf, it's going to be hard to really get rid of him. It's going to be hard to sell getting rid of him if even if the team loses. But at the end of the season, statistically, because that's where everybody goes off of. Well, statistically, he did this and he did that, but they're not really watching the games, not really digging deep into the games and seeing where those numbers came from and when those numbers came. So I mean, I would say this, depending on if the Lions have a high pick, like top one, top two, top three, I can't really see them passing on the quarterback in that spot. You know, considering the guys that the guys that are right now considered to be those top guys, I just can't really see them pass on quarterback now. We don't know what the issue is with Bryce Young, um, whether that's going to linger on. C.J. Stroud is a guy that's up there. You got other guys like DJ Uyunglele. You got
Will
uh,
Levis.
Will Levis. You got Tanner McKee, the cornerback from Stanford. So I mean, we got a long time to get before that, but as far as today's game, I think one problem New England's going to have is that they can't push the ball downfield against us. And if you can't really attack us downfield, it's going to be a hard time. Because now we can, because I think that's what really happened with Washington. Washington couldn't run the ball, and they abandoned the run early, which allowed us to bring Tracy Walker up, which allowed us to bring Deshaun Elliott up. We were able to completely play everything at the line of scrimmage to 10 yards to keep everything in front of us. That's the only way we can really be successful right now, I think, is if we play against offenses that can't really threaten us downfield.
Giants,
And we got to
Giants just scored. Yeah, Giants just scored, so it's a very close game right now. Considering that the Packers, we thought Packers were going to have one of the best defenses in the NFC, right? Because they've invested so much draft capital on their defense, and not surrounded Aaron Rodgers with wide receivers, right? So it's great, crazy game going on right now.
Daniel Jones on that drive was 8 for 9.
Hey, and his hand is all cut up too. He's bleeding like crazy.
I think the Giants are a good team. They just need some more talent on offense.
I like their coaching.
You have been saying you have been high on the Giants, yeah.
Yeah. All right. With that being said, anyone else have anything else? This last comments before we get off the air.
Cowboys beat Rams. That's it.
Hey, if the Bears win today, they'll be tied for first place, won't they? If they win today, they'll be tied for first place with Green Bay, right?
Let me see.
They will have beaten Minnesota, and Minnesota lost to Green Bay, right? I mean, Green Bay lost to Minnesota week 1, so I believe they'll be 3-2. They'll be tied for first place.
Vikings are 3-1. Packers are 3-1. Bears are 2-2. Lions are 1-3.
Just want to say if the Pats can get a win today against a tough Lions team, we get to 2-3, and then the next month our schedule next week we got Cleveland without Deshaun, we got the Bears on Monday, got the Jets twice, and we got the Colts. So we can get off to a streak of win. We did it last year. We started out 1-3, and maybe by Thanksgiving we can end up at like 6-3, 7-3 or something. But we got to do more than just show up. We got to actually play.
I think start scoring some points.
Yeah, well, I think
that's what y'all got to do.
I think the Patriots are in the same boat as the Steelers and the Raiders, and the Bears. Just the offensive scheme is not.
Hey, Walt,
not really good.
We got to start scoring some points. Y'all got to stop giving up so many points.
but that's the thing. Y'all terrible offensively to get to 1-3. We're terrible defensively to get to 1-3. So the rubber meets the road at some point in time. Something's going down today.
I don't know how, but the Raiders got to go and win tomorrow. If not, the season's more than likely over. So, with that being said, thank you everyone out there for watching. Enjoy the games. We'll talk to you soon.